Hereby call the City Council meeting for March 8th to order. If everybody would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Linda, roll call.
Councilmember Andrusik.
Here.
Councilmember Mercado.
Here.
Vice Mayor King.
Here.
And Mayor Sierra.
Here. All righty. Do we have any reordering of the agenda?
No, ma'am.
See anything? Public comments. This is your time to get up. You've got 3 minutes to talk about anything you want to talk about, whether it's on the agenda or not. I have 2 speakers so far, and if I could get Debbie O'Quist to come up.
Was yours on the RV ordinance?
No.
Okay.
Public comment, it
Okay.
says.
All right.
Hi, I'm Debbie O'Quist. I live at 371 Alder Lane. And I just had a couple observations and questions. With all the money and time and due diligence everybody did when we had the Avenue of the Flags, what's the word? We had the
Visioning.
The
vision.
process.
Where are we going with that? I mean, we should be putting up some old restrooms, getting the plans made, maybe have a to-do list. I haven't been in for a while. I've been busy, you know, it's the holidays. And my background is my parents always bought and sold real estate, so I understand that. But why are we looking at buying a second lot when we're not doing anything with the information that we got from the development people we paid a lot of money to? So that's kind of where my thought is do we have a to-do list, or do we have a list? And do you have a plan if you're going to buy a second piece of vacant property? What are you doing with the first piece? And I don't understand how it kind of fits in with our budget. And my friends, you know, we're just talking about all the beautiful information we got from the redevelopment plan, and the meridians are still staying the same way, and we haven't seen much progress in that
Not
respect.
much at all, huh? Mr. Beardsinski, could you give her just a real quick update?
I'd be happy to. It's just got adopted, so it's still, we're trying to pull it all together to get the final plan published. But we're going to have a meeting of the Economic Development Task Force to go over those items of what we want to do and start working on it. We have 2 projects in on the avenue that are with Art Deco architecture and will comply with the specific plan on 2 key corners, and we have interest in another corner as well. So the city's going to start looking at the budgetary things associated with improvements of the medians and working with developers.
Okay,
so we are planning to work on it.
We're hoping to get money, work with the developers for the money to put the mediums to make them look.
Right, oh good. And I'm sorry I missed the meeting last Wednesday. I wasn't getting the emails, so I was disappointed. But it was a nice article in the newspaper.
Good. Thank you very much.
And Mark, we're settled on the 26th.
Kathy Vreeland,
Yeah.
next.
9 o'clock.
I just want to quickly remind you all, and should have had an email from me, regarding the Buellton Wine and Chili Festival coming up next Sunday, March 18th. It's from noon to 4:30 at Flying Flags. We've got a great turnout this year with all of our vendors and wineries and breweries, and we're going to be packed in there. It's going to be great, though. But we're really full. In fact, we're not even accepting any more cooks or wineries or anybody right now. We're maxed out. So it's a really awesome turnout. They've been doing a ton of work at the campground, so we're going to have access to their new event barn and the bocce courts. Their sausage truck's going to be open. We've got the Dusty Jugs and the Brian Titus Trio, which are 2 great bands playing music throughout the day. So we're super excited. Tickets are still on sale for people to attend. They do go up at the door, so if you know of anybody that wants to buy, make sure they purchase ahead of time. But we're really looking forward to a fun day. I've set some posters over here by the door. If anybody has a business window they'd like to hang one in, we'd welcome that. Otherwise, we hope to see you on Sunday at the Wine and Chili Festival. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alrighty, I don't see any other speaker slips, so I close down public comment. Moving on to the consent calendar. We have the minutes of February 22nd, 2018 regular City Council meeting. We have list of claims to be approved and ratified for payment to date for fiscal year 2017-18. acceptance of public water line and trails easements for Buellton Apartments at 92nd Street, the reduction of bond for the Buellton Apartments at 92nd Street, and consideration of amendment number 1 to the agreement with the Buellton Historical Society to place historical markers on public property to commemorate significant events and people in Buellton history.
Move for
Gentlemen?
approval.
Okay, motion to approve.
I'll second.
Linda?
Okay, Vice Mayor King.
Aye.
Councilmember Mercado.
Aye.
Councilmember Andrusik.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Alrighty. Do we have any presentations tonight?
No, ma'am.
Alrighty. Moving on then to public hearings, we have agenda item number 6, ordinance number 18-01, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Buellton, California, amending section 8.04.030.c of the Buellton Municipal Code relating to parking of recreational vehicles, trailers, and boats. This is an introduction and first reading. Mr. Beardzinski.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. The council directed staff to prepare an ordinance amending the code section regarding the parking of recreational vehicles, trailers, and boats on private property. And at the last meeting that we discussed this, it was to allow parking in the driveway to the garage with a 2.5-foot setback from the front and property line. So the change from the prior ordinance to what we're proposing tonight is the small area to the left of the driveway just got expanded to include the driveway as an appropriate storage area. So they can still be stored in the side and rear yards, screened by a fence with the setbacks to the building and property line, and that has not changed from the prior ordinance. And they may be still stored to the short side of the driveway as noted on the graphic. So the driveway and the area to the left of the driveway shown in the graphic is where you could store in the front yard. The white area is the area that would not be able to be used for storage in the front yard setback area. Give or take 60 RVs, boats, and trailers are typically stored around town in the front yard area. And with this new proposal, probably all but maybe 2 or 3 could be accommodated into the front yard area with the driveway storage. So staff is recommending the City Council consider the introduction and first reading of the ordinance, and staff's available for any questions.
Thank you very much. First of all, are there any questions for staff? No? Questions?
No questions, I have
Okay.
comments.
This does take them off the front lawns and the other side of the yard.
That is correct. So they couldn't replace the lawn with paving on the other portion of the lawn. It would have to stay paving, so it would just be driveway towards the smaller setback side of the property. So
Okay.
all of that area would be able to be used.
Thank you very much. Okay, if there's a question?
One other question.
Yeah.
The ones marked that were already here, are they going to be grandfathered in, or do they have to
There's no grandfathering in this particular ordinance, and there was not in the prior one either. So, but again, most of them that I've looked at will be able to be accommodated with storage in
Okay.
the driveway, etc. And I'm also still proposing that once this ordinance is adopted, that there's a 6-month grace period to get everybody in compliance. So we wouldn't do any enforcement. We'd give out letters to ones that we see need to be moved or addressed. But again, it would be 6 months before it would be full effect.
Okay. All righty. Then I'm going to open this up to the public. I don't have any speaker slips. If anybody wants to get up and put in their 2 cents worth, doesn't look like it. Bringing it back to council for comment and possible action. Vice Mayor?
Looking at me? Yeah, the only way that I feel that I could really support this is, and there shouldn't be anybody that really should have any issue with it, because since 1992, when the city became a city, this ordinance was a 5-foot setback from the street.
That is
The one
correct.
that was passed in 2008 was also a 5-foot setback from the street. So the only way, I think, in the interest of public safety, and I did do the circles and arrows and diagram on the board about site picture, and that's very important, that anybody backing out of a driveway, say that it is adjacent to the driveway where someone has this giant board, basically as an RV, they need to have enough room. Now 2.5 feet is just slightly bigger than this table. And we're allowing people to put an RV 2.5 feet from the street. And I think in the interest of public safety, it should be a minimum of 5 feet from the street. Because you've got kids on streets, riding bicycles, someone coming down the street on their car. People need to be able to see someone coming down the street as they're backing out of their driveway. Your car is not 2.5 feet from the back of your car to your window where you can see out. But at least a minimum of 5 feet, I think, would be an acceptable tolerance.
If we went to the 5 feet, how many vehicles would that affect?
At this point, I don't know, but there would be other larger vehicles that I've noticed out there that would not be able to comply with the 5-foot setback. But I don't know the number at this point.
Okay. Any comments? I did not actually open it up for public hearing, so if anybody wants to speak, come up to the mic and then fill out a speaker slip afterwards, and then I will close it. I'll let our public have their comments. So I'm opening it up. I apologize.
Oh, I thought you...
I didn't.
Yeah, and there wasn't a close,
I-
official close.
I didn't officially close it. So Fen, if you want to get up and speak, you can fill that out afterwards.
Ben Runge, 546 Blue Blossom. Mr. King, you said 5 feet from the street.
Property
From the
line.
property line.
Well, he said street.
Okay, I'll amend it. Property
Okay,
line.
the property line is to the sidewalk, right?
Correct.
Okay. 5 feet is not going to cut it. Be recreation vehicles that you want to store there, they are so long that the 5 foot will not cut it. And if you can't back out safely, it's just like a parking lot in a supermarket, and you shouldn't be driving. Thank you.
Thank you. Debbie, did you want to speak too?
Well, I just have a question. Can I just?
Come on up to the front, and I'll have to have you fill out another slip too. I apologize, but this is protocol.
When people purchased their homes, did they know that this was in effect, or if things evolved in the last 10 years? Or you said 92?
Can I, Mark? You mind?
Yeah, it originally was 92. There was county regulations. Then we revised them in 2008.
Being more generous or restrictive?
Probably more generous.
It's
Five
probably
was
mo-
5 feet.
It's still 5 feet, but generous of where it could be located. And then we did 2 other iterations in the last 2 years, and this is the third one we're coming for, which is a little more generous, not all the way to where it was in 2008, but a lot more generous than the previous 2 ordinances.
My comment is I have 2 horse trailers, I have an equine business, and I knew when I bought my property that I couldn't park it there. So now I'm up at Jim Buell's, and he likes me, so I'm able to keep my rigs up there. But are we thinking of more RV parking areas? Because I heard that Jim wanted to put one by Firestone, and Firestone got upset, and then he just kind of walked away. But I'm just
little
gonna-
more to it than
Yeah.
that, but yeah.
But so we're just waiting for somebody to come in to want to put another parking place, or it's not available?
We would truly love it if somebody came in
Okay,
with RV parking.
but the neighbors all have to agree, everybody, or they come,
Well, that's why.
there's a lot to it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. We've,
all right.
thank you. All righty, I don't see any other speakers, so I am closing public comment, bringing it back for discussion, possible action by council. I understand what you're saying with the 5 foot. I also realize that would affect a lot more RV owners, and I'd like to see this done gradually. And I think if we go with the 2.5 foot, that it would accommodate more. It would still get the RVs and the boats off the front lawns, and it's a step in the right direction.
Can I have a final argument on that?
Of course.
Well, it's always been 5 feet. nobody should have an issue with the 5 feet. The only people that are going to have an issue with the 5 feet are people that are parking on their yard and now cannot move it over. That is going to be bare minimum of people. There are many people in this town, and I've looked at pictures that are already not in compliance with the 5 feet. They just have not been tagged and towed. So realistically, there's nobody, even if they moved in here 2 years ago, the old ordinance was 5 feet away from the street. And imagine they used some prudence back then on thinking the same way that I'm thinking, is in the interest of public safety, we should not put these trailers 2 feet. We're talking the distance from this table to the other side of this table is about 2.5 feet from where I'm sitting. Now, I mean, are we going to allow people that are already in violation of the 5 feet to continue to park those trailers without taking regard for the interest of public safety? I mean, if a kid gets backed over because you couldn't see because of the trailers there, whose fault is that? That's us.
Gentlemen, anything from this side of the room?
I'd have to agree with your comments, Ollie. I see Dave's point. Just in our little Thumbelina neighborhood, since we don't have any sidewalks, people at the 2.5 would be right there on the street. It seems that it's something that could be workable, and I think with the 6-month grandfather, or not so much grandfathering, but the 6-month period of enforcing. If it doesn't work, then we need to address it again. So I would have to agree with your comments, Holly.
And I would truly hope if you didn't have a good sight line, that you just wouldn't back an RV out of your driveway.
No, I'm talking about someone backing their car out of their driveway to go to work in the morning, and there's this monstrosity sitting next to them when there's only 2 feet from the curb or the sidewalk to the street. And the county and this body at one point in time adopted the 5-foot benchmark, and now we are decreasing that.
Councilmember Andresen?
I follow what's going on there. I have a bigger concern, and it regards the item 2B2, page 3, and it's how we have come to be at 2.5 feet all around the property. And I honestly feel that's a taking of property. There's no earthly reason for us to prohibit people from parking within 2.5 feet of their fence. They have to be 3 feet away from the property. This showed up. We had a couple of people that had spoken. They thought they were going to be here tonight to reiterate their position. This somehow crept into this ordinance, and I can understand the 2.5 feet in the front, back to the front of the residence or the structure, but I don't see, given what is it, railway housing, where the loop of houses on 2 foot across from the bank. Railway station.
Valley Station.
Valley Station are postage stamp lots to begin with, and to take 2.5 feet all the way around. I've asked about this before, and that I don't support that, and I guess if there isn't support on the council, I think a future council would probably remove that from there, because it does not help the parking of the RV. This is a taking of the land, which is a totally different story. I understand what we've done, and we talked with the Olsons, and theirs was the 2.5, and I support the 2.5. There's never going to be enough room, Dave, for people. You're absolutely right. We had the discussion, and it's not anywhere in our ordinance, but many of the places we have lived have a setback of 20 feet from the property line, no more than 4 foot high structures, whether it's a fence or a trellis, because that then allows a,
And we have that in our code as well.
okay, and that's, okay.
It's actually
And I'm
3
glad-
feet at the property line.
3
3
feet.
feet, and then it can
Okay.
step up.
And step up. But that, I really have a problem with the 2.5, but I know that we have this, you know, the 5 feet, I think, just isn't in the cards at this time. But again, I think a future council would probably, you've always told us, 3 people can change it, so.
And the
That's-
2.5 feet around the property lines in the rear, that's up to the council if they want that removed for the second reading. So that's up to the council's
Okay.
discretion.
Well, I appreciate that, because there are people that maybe will get this message and speak at the second reading, but that's the part that wrinkles my,
The 2.5 feet at
the
side.
2.5 on
In the
on
rear and,
rest of the
in the rear
property.
and side yards.
Okay.
Because I've looked
So,
over a lot of fences lately. Maybe I shouldn't report that, but the-
so maybe
Never
we
with a
can have the council members weigh in on the 2.5 feet in the rear and side yards and see where that is.
so Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, the original ordinance that was brought back to council, that was 5 feet, correct? From property line.
Well, we're talking now with the rear and inside.
Right, but that was 5 feet.
No, I didn't think there was any restriction in the rear or side yards. It was just the front and the side in front of the house.
Well, if I recall, I made a comment that I thought 5 feet was a little restrictive and said we should put a 2.5 from somebody's property line. But take a look at the old ordinance that was passed that caused this one to come back. I'm pretty sure it was 5 feet from the property line.
I don't recall that, but I will do the check.
And I said at least have 2.5 feet for fire access or whatever on the sides, but the original one was pretty restrictive with 5 feet. The 5 feet I'm talking about, Ed, is from the street.
I understand.
But the old one, I'm 99% sure that the old one was 5 feet from property line. So you were talking, we gave them 2.5 feet of more, because I said with 5 feet, there's not very much, or should I say not very many properties that had enough side yard with a 5-foot restriction from your side yard that could put a trailer in there. Because if a trailer is 8 or 9 feet wide and you had 5 feet, now you're talking you had to have 13 feet of side yard to put a trailer there. So I believe that I made that issue that we should make it 2.5 so people could get on the side. But I still have the issue with 2.5 feet from the street. I'm looking at it from, 25 years of investigating accidents of why we shouldn't allow people to be 2.5 feet from the street. I have been to many bicycle with an 8-year-old on a bicycle. And this is why I believe that people need to be able to see down the street before they back out of their driveway.
And just to let you know, smaller accessory structures can go up to the property line. So it's, it's not precedent setting if you eliminate the 2.5 feet, but
That was what I was. I
This
would
is for
encourage
RVs
support for
only,
that.
Ed.
So storage sheds can be at the fence.
correct.
This doesn't supersede that.
That's, people were interpreting the 2.5
It's the same.
was a, so that may
Okay.
solve that, but,
Yeah.
I mean, if we could remove the 2.5 beyond the where any RV would be.
In the side and rear yard setback areas.
Side and rear yard,
That's
all-
that's
that's
how we
all.
have the graphic
Well, actually,
design.
that one that you
Yeah.
have up there is that's acceptable, but I was
No,
just
no, that
looking-
has the 2.5 feet to the property
see
lines
that.
on
Be
the
able to
side
get
and rear.
around it.
Yeah.
But
I
the
mean,
3 feet
that's-
from the structure, we would
Yeah.
keep, because that's a fire access.
Fire issue.
This
Okay.
one that
2.5
says
from the
side
property
yard.
line versus the 5. That's what we all kind of talked about. And
Or in the rear and side yard, do
Right.
you want no setback from the rear and side
No,
property
I
lines?
think the 2.5 for an RV to be able to get around it is
Yeah.
kind of important.
Oh, for RVs, but
Yeah,
Just-
this is RVs.
so we.
But
and
this
we've
is
talked
only
about
RVs. It has
structure.
nothing to
Okay.
do
Yeah.
with anything
Structure.
Yeah.
else. This is
You wanna
only
build a shed up
A
against
RVs.
the
property
fence,
that has
not a problem.
a side yard 20 feet, they could have a RV 2.5 feet from their fence.
Mhm.
Okay, and that's fine. But people with just
It has
plain old
nothing to
storage
do with the
sheds
other
can
ones.
have 'em right
This,
up
this
against the
ordinance
fence.
only applies to the storage of RVs,
Okay.
not to the,
Well,
any
I'm
other
glad that's-
structures.
That's clarified, because
Okay.
the
Okay, good.
people are thinking we were taking their property.
We've got it down to the two. I mean, we either move forward with this, if there's a motion.
I'd make a motion to accept ordinance number 18-01 as written.
Introduction and first reading, correct?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay. Linda?
Okay, Councilmember Mercado.
Aye.
Councilmember Andrusik.
Aye.
Vice Mayor King.
No.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, moving on to councilmember comments/items. Councilmember Mercado, any items or comments?
Not right now. Nothing. I'm good.
Councilmember Andrusik.
No, ma'am.
Vice Mayor?
Nope.
Alrighty. And I honestly don't, the three of us, Vice Mayor King and I, went with City Manager Bierdzinski last week to the Solvang Rotaries Award ceremony, beautification ceremony, and our City Hall was recognized for its landscaping, and that was really nice of them. So, thank you both for being there. Written communications,
No, ma'am?
committee reports.
No meeting since our last one.
Nope.
Oh, no committee
That's
reports.
next week.
It is 2 weeks.
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks on a Wednesday. Business items. Moving on to agenda item number 7, our mid-year progress report from the Buellton Visitors Bureau for the period July 2017 through December 2017. Mr. Bierdzinski.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. This is part of the contract requirements, reporting requirements from the Visitors Bureau, and I will turn it over to Kathy Vreeland to give a brief presentation, and then she's available to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Kathy, step on up again.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. So, as Mark said, this is kind of a half-year check point for us to see what we've been up to, and it's been a busy first half of the year. We have a lot of, I'm proud to say we have a lot of great things going on at the Visitors Bureau, and we've just made some really great moves that's just boosting us out there in the world of tourism. So happy to report, I know I submitted for you, and you're welcome, you hopefully read through or you have it there. So I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but I can hit on some highlight points for you. One thing we've done, I know, with the addition of the Hampton Inn and Suites, which opened in June last year, so we're able to kind of track some TOT measurements from that property. We have seen an increase in TOT on an average of over 80,000 a month coming into the city, which is fabulous. So we're happy to have them here in Buellton, and they're doing really well. Also, we've completed our marketing strategic plan, so that was kind of done in last fiscal year. And what we've done now is we've contracted with Solutions on Second, which is Megan DeChico, and she's helping us with the implementation of that plan. So that's what we're moving forward with now. With that, we've formed a tourism council, if you will. It's a side of the board of directors, which is mainly just tourism individuals. So some board members and some also tourism individuals in the community, so that they can then best make the judgment on going forward with the plan and anything to do with tourism related issues that come up. So they're helping to kind of orchestrate that and make decisions and recommendations to take to my board of directors for their final decision. So that's moving along really nicely with that, because they have the mindset and the mind frame for tourism and what this all means. Sometimes, you know, I have a great board of directors, but being the chamber as well, we have to have a mixture of individuals there. So this just allows us to really focus on the tourism section of that. We also continue to work with our PR firm, which is 360 View PR, and they are just doing a bang out job for us. I'm super proud to be working with them. They're young women and brilliant ladies. They've worked in the industry for a long time. One of them, their parents lived live here in Buellton. She actually lives in LA herself, but she's very familiar with our area. The other one is from Goleta. So they're local. They know our market. They know what we are and our product here in Buellton. So that helps out immensely. But they've been able to, we've had, and I think I've shared some of the links with the council. You could look at some of the articles and some of the places we've been talked about, which is in Frommer's, Washington Post, National Geographic, the New York Times. So these are some big, big names. And to have Buellton, noticed in these publications is just amazing. They've brought some wonderful travel writers and bloggers into the community. Our tourism partners have hosted them, whether it be a hotel or a dinner or a winery or ostrich land or whatever. We work with all of our partners here in Buellton, and we keep that rotating around to different properties so they can all benefit from the exposure. So I had listed there some of the, we saw over 83 pieces of coverage, 9.46 thousand social shares, 282 individual media pitched, 341 million online readership, and 8 press trips. So these are it's just awesome. I love where we are right now and in the partners that we're working with, because we're really boosting forward. Continue to partner with Central Coast Tourism Council. Some of the income and expenses we're really tracking on where we are right now. We had received about $200,000 at mid-year from our budget, and we've spent about $209,000. So we're keeping up with our budget nicely. Some of the print and digital pieces I listed out there and kind of listed what the exposure is with them. Many of the print pieces, we also get a digital piece out of that as well. So we get a cross branding there, if you will. So those continue to work for us. Again, different visitor guides. We tend to be in our local guide, the Santa Barbara, Visit California, our state guide. So just various places that we need to be. And we'll go ahead and assess that coming up when we're talking budget and stuff. We'll look at these as well and go, are we going to be in them ongoing, and do we want to cut back, go more digital? So we have a lot of discussion to come up around these pieces. Graphic design, we continue to work with Uva Designs here in the Valley, and he also helped assist us with a little photo shoot we did, this time focusing on Industrial Way and the farm stand here out by Mosby, down Santa Rosa Road, Flying Flags, the Mendenhall Museum. So we continue to add to our library of photos and images that just allow us to create really nice pieces when we're advertising out there. So, and that goes into whether it be our brochure cards or any advertising, our booth display, print ads, digital pieces, websites. So those pieces are used in an array of areas. So we get a lot of use out of them. Trade shows, we've just wrapped up a couple, the LA Travel and Trade Show and the San Diego Travel and Trade Show. Both great shows. LA was super busy for us this year. The San Diego one, it was when the highway was closed, so we had to take the long way around, but it was worth it. We had a lot of people asking about the fires and the floods, so it was really an educational opportunity for us to say we're open for business, because I know a lot of people got hit with that, and what they see on the news, it's devastating, and they think they just need to stay away. So we were down there to say, no, come, we want you, we want your business. So that worked out nicely, and again, LA was really big. Coming up here in May, I'll be heading out to an international trade show, and I partner with Solvang CVB and also Visit San Ynez Valley on that, and that's dealing with an international market. More of the travel trade, people who are coming in on their own and renting a car and traveling, or it might be a bus tour or a group tour. So that's who we meet with there. It's appointment based, so it's not open to just the consumer. It's open to just the appointment base. Everybody has to pay to be there. So that's a more focused show that we cooperate with our local partners on. Promotional items, we continue to purchase some items when needed. And this is just kind of whether it be at a trade show, a giveaway, so that they have something to walk away and remember us by. Sometimes it's a conversation starter, which is great to give them over to the booth and say, oh, what is this? And, we catch them kind of off guard sometimes, because they might be looking at the tchotchke, and we'll be like, oh, so you know where Buellton is? And then they kind of look like, wait, where are you? Who are you? So then we capture them, and we get to have a nice conversation about who we are and where we are. So it works for many reasons. Hopefully it's something that they're going to walk away with and keep for a while and hold on to, and our name's on it, but also as a conversation starter. And then we also host our media when they come. We like to give them a little nice gift bag with stuff in it, and along with their itinerary and whatnot during their stay. So economic development, we continue to work on this. We work with our leasing agents, our commercial realtors, and trying to fill these voids. It's not easy. It's not been easy. We still see empty spaces, and it's a struggle, whether it's the rent and what product is it that they can go in there and sell a lot of to cover the rent and the cost of doing business. So it's a tricky formula. The retail world, we all know, has changed so much with Amazon and online shopping. So we struggle with that a little bit. And food, you know, everybody loves food, but how much traffic and parking do we have for some more restaurants in certain places? So we have to be careful with who we're entertaining for different areas and if the capacity is there to hold that. So we continue to work in that regard. Traffic at the Visitor Center continues. We get a lot of walk-ins from all over the world. It's an interesting place to be on any given day. Some of you have stopped in before and you see the traffic and the visitors that we get, but it's just an honor and it's rewarding when we can help somebody, and we have people come in again from we had some gentleman today from New Jersey, and he left Santa Barbara. They said, oh, you should go visit Ojai. He ended up in Buellton. Didn't know north from south, I think, jumped on the freeway, but anyhow, we meet people from all walks of life, and we get them turned around and go, okay, let's pull out a map and show you where you are and where you've been, and anyhow, get them set on the right track. But excuse me, in the meantime, we get to highlight what we have and hopefully introduce them to something new they might not have known before. So that's our job. We want to keep them here as long as we can, and hopefully they come back. If they don't have enough time to explore what we have now, they can come back on a return trip. Also, the billboard, we continue to wrap the billboard over on McMurray Road. Darn it if we didn't get tagged at like a couple days after the new one went up with the events and such. So Mark Mendenhall is fabulous with his crew. They go out there and worked really hard to try to clean it and whatnot. Ended up just going by and painting over their graffiti with our colors on it. So anyhow, instead of ordering a new one, we were hoping not to have to order. We just put it up. So that's something we struggle with. McMurray Road there, it's very low to the ground, and it's just part of it. We might install a camera on that one just so we can maybe catch somebody. It's been graffitied on the back, which we're not so much worried about, but when they get that front, it's like, oh, a lot of work. So anyhow, we continue to change the messaging on that around our events and whatnot. Visitor welcome, calls. We answer the calls, of course. We also will provide welcome bags to groups and whatnot. The RV park uses our services a lot for that when they have big RV clubs or groups come in and want a welcome bag. So we have a nice blue Buellton bag we give, and we load it up with material and maps and information, and that's always a nice amenity that we provide for our visitors. So events, of course, we have a successful Winterfest with the partnership of our local partners, the Rec Center, Historical Society, the Senior Center. We did a wonderful day. It was a wonderful day. We had a huge turnout for Breakfast with Santa in the morning. Great event down on the avenue. The snow came. The kids love it. The electrical parade, we're growing. It's getting there. We're going to keep adding to that hopefully year after year, but our Buellton Rotary has kind of stepped in to help with that piece of it. So we're really trying to use all of our groups and organizations and have everybody come and be a part of that. So that's one of the big events we put on. Again, we do sponsorships and donations for events. We try to look for events that might create hotel night stays for Buellton especially, and also the Historical Society with their markers that they're putting around town. They've created a nice historical trail, and they continue to add to that. So we've helped them out with some of that production and installation costs and whatnot. So that's a great addition to our city, and our tourists enjoy seeing the history of Buellton. So we can now set them on a nice trail that they can walk around and read these markers. The Scarecrow Fest, of course, we know is valley-wide. And then this year they did a Santa Barbara Craft Beer Week, which worked out pretty good. It's the first time, so of course it's a new event, but it took place over a course of a week, and it was within the county, and the people were able to visit the various breweries on different days throughout the county. So Buellton had its day, and so we hosted, sponsored that day for when people came to visit our Fig and Firestone that day. Sad to say the Vintners Festival is moving to Lompoc this year. They're going to River Park. The reason being is Explore Lompoc was able to sponsor $25,000 for their marketing. I can't do that. So anyhow, hopefully we'll get them back in the future. We'll see. I know it is a county vintners association, so they do have to rotate that around, and I understand that. So we'll see how it works for them. I think we will still benefit from hotel stays, though, so I'm not too worried. I'm bummed they left our area. We'd love to have them right here in our backyard, but we'll see how it goes. We have to share every now and then, and that was just a big chunk of money that I couldn't sponsor them for. Social media, so we're working with Solutions on Second. We changed over. We were with Megan Coolin of Sandy Nez Consulting, and we changed over and went with Solutions on Second. She set us up on a great calendar, and so she's got us working on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and so we're seeing a lot of great content, and our numbers increase as we move forward, which has been great. A couple new things we've done too is CrowdRiff is a user-generated tool that we've implemented into our website. We are in the process of developing a new site and doing a little branding, rebranding, I should say, for Buellton. So that will be launching here in the spring soon. But we're working on a new website, which CrowdRiff will be a big part of. Right now it is on our current site. We're using it now. So this is what's called user-generated content. So when you're out taking pictures and you're on Instagram and you're posting and you're hashtagging and whatnot, this tool will then pull that in. It'll find that information and pull it in. And then we have the ability to go in and like these certain photos, and we can then upload them into our galleries onto our website. So, and we have the ability to respond back to the person who took the picture to ask if we could go ahead and use that for our purposes, which is a nice engagement, and it causes them to go on our website, or we'll say, hey, this is great, we're using it, you can find it on our page. Then it causes them to have traffic to our site as well. And then also with, what was I going to say? Oh, with that, what was I going to say? We have different galleries. So Solutions on Second has like Pets of the Week or Get Moving Monday. So there's different themes for different posts that we do, and these fall into that. So this is going to be, and it's ever changing. It keeps it relevant. The content doesn't get stale because it can continue to change on the site. So that's a great tool we're excited to be working with. Also, we have UTrip. This is kind of fun. Anybody can go in and play with this tool. This is an itinerary builder. So we had a little itinerary tool in our site previously where people could go and just kind of, if they like the look of something, can add it to their itinerary as they're moving through our site, but they have to kind of be in that page to find it. This is a tool. It's right on the home page, and they can go plan your trip, and you have all these little bars that can slide, whether you like adventure or you like wine or you like outdoor or whatever your category that you might have a lot of interest in. You can slide that bar to highlight whichever if it's a high preference or a low preference for you. And then with that, it'll go ahead and create an itinerary. You can go through and like the things as well, and then it'll put together whether you're here for 3 days or 4 days. You can tell it how many days you're in town for, and then you just go through and click and play with these little bars and preferences, and then it'll build you an itinerary. And you can move it around if you're like, well, I don't know if I'm going to have time for the Mendenhall Museum that day. I might slide that over to, Thursday instead of Friday or whatever it is, but it'll build that nice itinerary for you so that you can upload to your phone, you can share it with your friends, you can print it, whatever. So it's a great little addition. Really nice tool. It came together. It's working really nicely. And on that, we also share outside of Buellton things to do. Of course, we want them to spend more time here. So we understand 3-day trip, they might not have enough to do here in Buellton for 3 days, but they might want to explore the other communities. So we do highlight some other interest points for them as well. And Motion Loft, so we have the traffic sensors are still out there collecting data. We have 8 in town now. So they're capturing data. We're asking them to do some year-over-year. Now that we've had them a little while, we can kind of see some year-over-year studies. I was having them look at the mudslide weekend when it was, I think, Martin Luther King weekend. Normally we're really busy, but it was closed, and you can kind of see the drop in traffic, so year-over-year, which was nice to be able to compare that. So this is a really helpful tool. We can have them do all kinds of reports, and they submit reports monthly to me as well. I usually share those with staff, but they show the different directions depending where the monitors are. We have 8 of them in town now, but they can track the numbers of cars going by. Basically, I don't capture speed or anything, but it can capture the count, which is important. So whether it be for us kind of before, during, and after construction to see the impact of what the traffic is in the different areas of town, or for developers or for businesses wanting to move into town and find out what the traffic counts are. Am I going to get enough visibility? Is there enough traffic? Or maybe I open at 9 in the morning and the traffic between 6 and 9 is really busy and I'm missing a whole bunch of people there. So maybe I want to open up earlier or close, whatever. So it kind of helps for many reasons with the data that they can get from these traffic sensors. So that's kind of a fun thing. Just done some advertising in the Pacific Coast Business Times, trying again to push our retail space and fill these voids that we have in town. And again, I had mentioned we've contracted with Solutions on Second. Central Coast Tourism Council, I'm now on the board, the treasurer actually for this organization, but this continues to be just a great network of other industry people that we can share ideas with, but we can also co-op and market together on much bigger levels than we can do on our own. So those are some of the things we've been working on. We have a lot more to come in the new year. I'm excited because we'll be launching and rebranding, and that should be exciting and coming up here in the next couple of months as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions if I can. I think we're,
I
yep,
had to.
yep, go right ahead, please.
The wrap, that vandalism, what is that wrap? I was in the office when Mark was picking those up to
Okay.
go out and do them. What's the cost on that?
They're a little over $300 for the wrap.
Vandalism, I was thinking it was even more than that.
Well, so
Because you-
one thing I have to pay for designer to design it,
Oh.
I have to pay for the wrap, and then I have to pay for somebody to install it. So there's more than 300 in the cost of one whole thing going in and coming down, but that's the cost of the actual vinyl itself. We found a company that's very reasonable, actually.
But then, were you able to just take where they specifically defaced it? And
Yeah.
can you lay over that or not?
Not so
try?
much, not that easy. They
Sure.
tried to wash and do things and scrub, but it started taking all the color of the whole thing off, and so they ended up going and getting paint and just painting over the letters and
Same
stuff.
way.
And from a distance, when you're going, you can't really tell it's okay.
Going
But
80 miles an hour.
it saved us from having to go purchase a whole nother wrap and put it up there. So we've been fortunate, but they got us pretty good on that last one.
Second question, because you made it, you've commented in the past, the orange is
Mm.
a Buellton attachment to your decor,
Our trade show,
decor,
Mm-hmm.
what you're wearing.
our obnoxious
Do
orange.
you still do the oranges?
We do. And I tell you what, we get comments at the trade shows. We see a lot of booths, right, at these shows, and you've probably seen them at the city level and conventions and conferences, but everybody has their booth and their branding. But I have to say, we nail it when we go out on the road, so you should be proud of Buellton.
Orange.
We're very bright, we're very loud. As far as color, we're not loud, but the color is loud. But our booth is completely branded, our tablecloth, down to everything, our backdrop, our tablecloth, what we're wearing, what we're handing out, everything is completely branded. And so we've had comments, which, I don't know, at a consumer show, I don't know how many people walk up and say, "You guys, this is you totally nailed it. You look really good." But we get comments like that because people notice that kind of stuff. Because we'll look around at other booths and they're just standing in street clothes and selling their whatever, but nothing's branded. It's kind of hodgepodge and pieced together. But we really, we take pride in what we are doing, and the orange just stands out a lot. And so that we'll definitely continue to use that color because you can't help but see us when we're bright orange. I mean, you stand in a convention sometimes when you're at a trade show next time and you see a whole lot of blues and blacks and different colors, but when you see those reds or those oranges, they pop and you can't help but draw your eye over to what's going on over there. So yeah, thank you. No, we still wear our Caltrans orange.
Any other questions,
No.
comments?
You've done a good job.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations.
We love what we do and we're passionate about it, and we're happy to be able to do it. So thank you for giving us the opportunity. Thanks, Ed. Yeah, snuck up on me. Thank you. Any other questions or?
Just thank you very much for the
Yeah.
hard work.
And come by any time to the visitor center if you're not sure what we do or what's going on inside. Right now it kind of looks like a warehouse with Chili Fest coming up. We got a bunch of boxes in there, but please come by and we're happy to show you what we have. We get a lot of great comments and a lot of people come back. After we've directed them somewhere, they come back and thank us for what we've done, and that speaks loudly. I think when I travel, I don't know that I always go back to a visitor center necessarily. So we noticed that, and it's just really nice to see that. So
You and Jody
Happy to
and
do what we
staff
can.
are very welcoming.
thank you. Yeah, well, we try to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All righty, moving on to business item number 8, resolution number 18-05, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Buellton, California, designating the lowest city council vote recipient of those elected in the November 2018 election to serve a 2-year term pursuant to Government Code Section 34906. Mr. McEwen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So with the transition from an appointed mayor to an elected mayor with a 2-year term, we ended up with an imbalance in the election. So for example, in 2016, the mayor's seat and one council seat were up for election. Contrast that with what we have coming up in 2018, where we have 3 council seats and the mayor's seat up for election. So if that were to continue, you would alternate between having 2 seats up for election, and then the following election cycle you'd have 4. And typically you don't want to have that much turnover in an election. So the government code recognizes that some cities will switch to an elected mayor, as we did, and they provide for a one-time correction. And what that code section provides is that it's up to you. You can decide how you want to fix that imbalance. So one way to do it would be to, in advance, designate which of the seats that's up for election would be a 2-year term. That would mean you'd have to pick one of the incumbents, and you'd have to say that person's a 2-year term. Now, I think the way that most cities handle it is using option B, which is simply to say in advance that the lowest vote getter among those who are elected would serve a 2-year term. And so what we've done here is we've given you a resolution which gives you that second option. That's our recommendation, that you go with that option. And of course you have the option of not doing anything, in which case the imbalance in the elections will continue. But I think what the preference would be for you to fix that balance so that going forward, every election cycle the mayor would be up for election and 2 council seats. So it would be 3, 3, 3 all the way through. So you'd have potential for less turnover. Right. So with that, we've put together the resolution. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer those right now.
Any questions?
No, self-explanatory.
Straightforward.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
I will move for approval of Resolution 1805 as stated, with no changes.
I'll second that one. Linda?
Okay, Councilmember Andriesik.
Aye.
Mayor Sierra.
Aye.
Councilmember Mercado.
Aye.
And Vice Mayor King.
Aye.
Easy. Okay, city managers report.
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor. We did receive the ARCO project at the north end of the avenue back in. And they've actually made a very good attempt at Art Deco architecture. They got ARCO's approval to do Art Deco for their gas stations, so we got that in for processing. So anybody who's interested can come take a look at it. We don't have the color elevations yet. We're still getting those, but it's encouraging that before they even submitted, they went to ARCO to get approval for that to try to comply with our specific plans. So we commend them for doing that. If you notice next to Shell, the large dangerous tree is no longer there. And thanks to Code Enforcement Officer Ben Hernandez for staying on top of that, trying to get them to get that down. And they were using Caltrans as the excuse of not allowing them to do it. But the last 2 days,
That was a big production.
Yeah,
That was a really big production.
It was very interesting the way they had the pulleys for the different branches, so it didn't fall in the highway.
I think we're fortunate that someone has, because they've had 18-wheelers parking on that lot
Right.
for months, and it's just amazing someone didn't just back into it and it fell over on a house or on the roadway.
Highway, yeah.
Looks like the storms this weekend are not going to be evacuation type of storms based on information from Office of Emergency Management, but we're going to get a series of storms next week, and they'll reevaluate as that goes. But we monitor that as we go forward. And as far as construction and the deposits that are required, we've figured out that the calculation should be done at the actual construction cost, not the bonding amount. So we'll bring that back to council just to explain that to them, to the council and the public. But I've talked to other contractors and developers, and that's the preferred methodology. So we've changed that officially, and we're changing the application, and we'll just bring that forward to the council next month just to explain that to the council. And I think that's worked out really good.
And I thank you for that quick turnaround. I think the people that were affected, there were only 2 that I was aware of,
Yes.
but I think it puts us in a better stay with the public.
No, and I appreciate bringing it to my attention. And Rose and I worked on looking at the appropriate way to calculate it, that it's fair to the developer, but we still get to deposit for the city for our plan check and inspection services. So
And timely.
that is it, and I'll turn it over to Mr. McEwen.
So item number 9 on the agenda is a conference with legal counsel, closed session. for anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, subdivision D4. There's one case, and I may have a very short report out of closed session after it's finished.
So we'll take about 5 minutes.